All right, this time I want to talk about the whole drug dealer shout out. There's a lot of commotion going around. LeBron James gave Big Meech a shout out since he's home from prison. He's gonna do the rest of his time in a halfway house, and then that'll be it. And a lot of people are jumping on LeBron James. So I'm saying he's not about that life, while we glorifying drug dealers who came home for doing things that they should not have been doing in the first place. And then you got the other hand, how people look at it. They say how drug dealers, the ones probably back then, actually made sure people who weren't about their life and was trying to hang out, they made sure they were in school. If they was trying to skip school, the drug dealers would tell them to get to school. You had those type of OGs out there in the streets that was looking out for the children. And people talk about how some drug dealers, would lend money to people when they needed it. Uh, you in dire straits, you really need some help. They also talked about some of the positive things drug dealers would do, giving away food. But then you go to the other side again, where you talk about what these people shouldn't be celebrated because they sold poison to their communities. People died, people overdosed on the drugs. They made a lot of money, and then that's the end result. You got the crack babies of the 1980s. It's a lot. So I think that's why they're making such a lot of hoopla over LeBron going on social media and saying, uh, "Welcome home to Big Meech." Definitely has been an issue. But do we give more props and more, pass on the back to people who made it home from prison than we do people who go to school? Chris Rock had a stand-up called "Bring the Pain," 1997, on HBO, and he talked about when people come home from jail. You get barbecues. You look at Doughboy and Boys in the Hood. Everybody like, "What's up? How you been? I see you been eating good in there." All type of things. But when you come home, you just got your masses. The reaction is like, okay, whatever. Are you my master now? And all of that. You don't get the same type of hugs from the community. You may get it from family and friends, but just all around, you tell somebody. Chris Rock was saying, people don't really put education, academics, if you achieve something there in the community, over crime, and you manage to come home, not die, and now you back free. Made it through your sentence, however many years you had to do, and now everybody's just congratulating you. I guess maybe because they haven't seen you, but the person that didn't do that and they just been in school and they finally finished their degree, masters, whatever the case may be, perception isn't the same. And that's something Chris Rock was pointing out back in 1997. And I'm thinking, from what we have with LeBron shouting out Big Meech, people may still feel that way. Hey, this dude coming home from prison. LeBron's never put nothing that I've seen shouting out a graduating class. You don't have to be nobody individual or somebody from his family, friend, whatever, but just a graduating class. Shout out to Morehouse University, graduates 2024, something like that. And so I don't know, maybe if they saw him do both, it was like equal opportunity. I don't know. But he only shouted out Big Meech. Of course, they've got the show, Black Mafia Family, BMF, if anybody who watches that. So that's another thing. We have a show that's following his whole lifetime. But there's no show following someone's college career based on a real life. Okay, this person went through this, got a scholarship, went through that, studied, and we just following this person as they graduate and start their career. No shows like that. But you get Black Mafia Family, where you watch Big Meech sell drugs and make all this money. He gets glorified. And so again, that goes back to, should we be shouting out drug dealers? They're all on LeBron's head about this. And so, what do you all think? Should we be shouting out people who are doing illegal things, did illegal things, now they back home? LeBron having so many followers on his social media, it's definitely going to gain some traction. And so for him to say that, that's why people are looking at, hey, where are our priorities? You know, Maybe things aren't in order what they need to be in terms of prioritizing things. You know, shouting out Big Meech when we got other things to worry about. You know, but you know that lifestyle and the money to be made and the cars and the Big Meech was making so much money. They was putting up billboards and people out here struggling. Man, they want to be in their life. You even have this thing now where it's always been the same. Rappers want to be drug dealers want to be rappers, you know. Especially with it being hard to make money in music these days. You're putting out a song and then, you know, I've seen, you know, you seen rappers get caught up in cases that had nothing to do with music. So art imitating life, that whole thing. And so some of the other things I want to talk about with this, you know, where do people stand in terms of this whole drug culture? You know, there's plenty of other guys who sold drugs that are coming home eventually. And then how would you necessarily greet them? I'm sure everybody, you know, you're happy to see the person. They've been gone for a while. But should it be all this fanfare for people doing things that they weren't supposed to be doing? And then now they finally get out for it. They serve their time, and now we sitting here patting them on the back. It's almost like patting a mother or father on the back for being a parent. You know, that's what you're supposed to do. And jail or prison is a place you're not supposed to be in, trying to avoid it at all costs. But, you know, stuff happens. You know, people commit crimes. But that's not even the issue here is, should we be shouting these people out? And LeBron having such a big platform, that's why this story has gotten so much traction. There's someone like him shouting out a drug dealer. He didn't shout out someone doing something positive. And so that's the whole thing. Or even if he has in the past, the fact that now he's shouting out someone that was doing something negative, now that's why people are like questioning, you know, hey, what are we doing here? So, you know, I can see their side. Then we can go over what some of the hustlers and gangsters used to do to help the community. You know, you got to weigh everything. I don't know how people feel. People got different experiences with people who sold drugs versus those who may have had families torn apart by it. You know, you see a lot of people out here every day that's strung out. Didn't used to be like that, but then started getting on the narcotics and just went downhill from there. Looks, everything just out of there. So we know what drugs can do to a community. You know, can rip through it, destroy it. So, but people still are glorifying, you know, the street behavior. You see it in the music. Everything's good until it's not, I guess, right? So that's something to think about when we call ourselves getting caught up in that lifestyle or really just fantasizing about it. You know, it looks good. And even in the music videos, it looks good. You know, people want to blow money fast and have enough money to blow fast and get it back. And we know we can get money real fast in the drug game illegally, you know, making money hand over fist. You know, a job working for someone else isn't going to do that. And there's people who work for, well, drug dealers work for themselves too, but there's people who legally work for themselves that are having a hard time doing that. Whereas the drug dealer illegally working for themselves but making so much money. That's the thing. So, I mean, you look at people in the past before Big Meech, Nicky Barnes, Frank Lucas, Lucky Luciano, Al Capone. A lot of these people, they made movies about them, been documentaries done. Definitely like shedding the light on, you know, crime and gangster culture. And people, you know, people watch, people get intrigued by it versus someone who's working to get their masters now for marketing or in business. Hey, this is my journey, you know, people, they're not watching that. So was Chris Rock right in 1997? And I'm not talking about your family and friends who congratulate you. And even then, even though they'll congratulate you for finishing school, your family and friends may be more receptive to someone that's been gone for 15 years and now they home. And they like, man, they reminiscing. I remember when we used to do this and that. We got to catch up. Like, they seeing you all the time. You just in school. You back around. So maybe it's something about the absence. The person that's doing time that's not there. And so when he or she does come home, everybody's all open arms. And maybe it's a psychological thing. You ain't physically seeing this person on a regular basis like you used to. And now they back around, so everybody trying to make up for lost time. Maybe that's what it is. You know, I mean, if you haven't been to prison, you're not doing nothing that will put you in there, and you focusing on, your academics. In this case, just using Chris Rock's example, you trying to get your master's. Just focus on you and do that, and don't worry about any pats on the back. I mean, some people like to pat themselves on the back. Be careful with that. You don't want your ego to get out of control. But the public, the society, they're going to react the way they want to. Someone's been gone for a long time in prison. Yeah, they definitely have been missed, especially by their mothers and fathers. So I guess the reaction, it's going to be different. But should we be going on Instagram or X, it used to be called Twitter, or Facebook or Snapchat or TikTok or Threads, giving shout outs to people because they home from a place that they should not have been in the first place? That's a whole nother issue to think about as well. And he got kicked off by LeBron James. I don't think LeBron, meant any harm from shouting out Big Meech, nor in any way is he's endorsing, selling drugs to make that type of money. He just was shouting them out. He's on. LeBron probably watches BMF too. So, but we love the whole gang culture, the drug, BMF, power, all of that. It's something about doing stuff that you're not supposed to do that just turn women and men on. And drugs being one of that, getting around the system, making all this money. And so then someone like LeBron puts that out there, so that just further backs it up. There's something about that culture, the gang, the street life that people are just fascinated about. Even though the streets doesn't care about people, but when you in it and you winning, it's a rush. So I mean, to anyone who's listening, if you used to be in the street life, comment, put that in the comments. I want to know. Or if you're still doing it, do you want to get out? If you did get out, do you have any regrets? Do you wish you had never got in the street life? Different circumstances put people in that. Trying to help family with bills, things like that. Money tight. I get it. But if you could do it all over again, if you were in street life, and you can choose a different way, would you? Is there anyone out here who's thinking about getting into the street life now? For whatever reason. I don't know what your situation is. Is it something you maybe want to think over, think twice before you start trying to make some money illegally, even though, you may be in desperate times right now. A lot of people are struggling. Even though jail, prison is the risk, or death as well. People just going all in when they have to survive. That's just the nature of the beast and the nature of human beings. But even though it happens, that's never something I'm wishing on someone, that they're gonna have to go into the street life to, sustain themselves. You really hope that people can stay safe and, walk the straight and narrow, be square as they call it. You got square and then you got street. You can't be both. Some people try and do both, one leg in, one leg out. That never works. You're either gonna be all the way square or all the way street. It's up to you. So these type of things, regardless of how you feel about them, you know, they're gonna continue to be out there. You know, the drugs aren't going anywhere. They're being let in. You know, Big Meech didn't bring the drugs in. He just made money off of it, you know. If you want to prevent future Big Meeches, had to stop the drugs from coming into the United States, but they never do for whatever reason. They don't stop it enough. You may see stories on drug busts here and there, but the cocaine, heroin, all of that still managing to get across the borders and into neighborhoods. That's a long way. So something's definitely by design, and so yeah. So I don't know how you all feel about LeBron doing that, shouting out a drug dealer. Should he have just not posted that? Or you think he should have just found someone who's doing something positive and shouted them out on social media? Perhaps, you know. He's an adult. We can't tell him what to do with his social media accounts. But it definitely has caused, you know, an uproar and people are responding. So that's why I made the video about it. Just to get a heat check of where people are at in terms of who we putting on pedestals out here on these internets. Some people might have, I'm sure people do have LeBron James on a pedestal. But then see him shout out a drug deal, I don't know if that now makes you look at him sad-eyed or something like that. I don't think we should be putting anybody on any pedestal anyway, because then when they disappoint you and you don't put them to this level as your hero, then it hurts you. So it's okay to be a fan, but stop putting people up on something like they're greater than you. They're not. And then that way, when they do things, you can just look at it from a more objective point of view and not get in your feelings and look at more of the facts to see, okay, all right, this is where this person is coming from. Just help you to think more logically about stuff that people are posting, all of that. Why people sell drugs, like Big Meech, how they feel about doing the prison time, 10 years, 15, 20 years. You know, what's in everybody's psyche. You know, Big Meech was probably struggling at the time when he decided to get into the dope game. Like, hey, look, there's a whole bunch of money here. Ain't nothing really in motion right now as currently constructed. So that's the route he went. Now, I've never shouted out any drug dealer or anything like that, drug kingpin on my social media. That's just not my thing, but I can definitely see why people, because LeBron James has been pedestalized and people do look at him as a role model instead of their own mother and father. And so when he puts shout out to Big Meech on the internet, now everybody's like, you know, they put him as a role model. But Sir Charles Barkley did the Nike commercial and said, I am not a role model. Because, you know, I'm not raising your kids. I'm not an example around your niece and your nephews. Charles is just not. You see him. But he's saying he's not a role model because it's not his job. Charles is already a father. So anyone who put LeBron James as a role model, that's mistake number one right there. For anybody that's just crazy outraged by him saying, welcome home, Big Meech. It's people who have Big Meech as their role model, possibly. Sexy Red already wants to perform for free once he gets to the halfway house. So he's definitely getting a lot of support. Big Meech is and a lot of love. And his name has been out there on TV, BMF for the longest now. And now he's finally on. So, but with everybody that's doing stuff positive that won't lead to any prison time, you know, just keep pushing forward. Don't worry about you not getting any type of accolades, pats on the back. If you are, then you in school or whatever you're doing for the wrong reasons anyway. Let what you're doing speak. Let your game speak. And that's how you become legendary. So, That's just my thoughts on it. People probably are making it a bigger deal than it should be, but LeBron James is very popular, very famous. Big Meech is very well known, and so he put that together and he shouts him out. Yeah, you definitely get the internet talking. It's definitely a buzz, you know. But that's about all I got on it. As far as people glorifying street life, street culture, use your best judgment. If you're out in the streets and you see other boys and girls acting up, tell them, nah, you don't want to go down that path. You see where I'm at. Try and set an example. You don't have to be a role model, but at least set an example. So I'll leave everybody with that. I'm not a role model either. Like, share, and subscribe. The channel is Facts or Feelings, all one word, no spaces. Type that in the YouTube search, Facts or Feelings, no spaces, and this channel comes right up. So, yeah, let me know what you all think in the comments. I'm out.